Hi guys, this is Keith from Universal English. This video is essentially for my own teachers. The idea is to give them some ideas of giving feedback to students for the work that they produce, normally written work. Could be recordings, but we'll deal with that in another video. Okay, so essentially what I'm doing is I'm using Screencast-O-Matic again to record this session. I've picked up a document that was shared with me through Google Drive by one of my students. Obviously, when something is shared with you, the students automatically, in real time, see what you are doing to the document in order to correct it. So let's just have a look at one or two of the things that you can do. Now, the first thing you can do, obviously, as I'm recording this session, one of the first things you can do is actually record the feedback so that as you're reading the document, the students can actually see a real-time video of you going through the process of trying to understand what they're saying. And you can upload that video onto YouTube. The students can then have the address for that particular video, which is to do with them. It can be published privately so that no one else can see it, and it becomes like a personal tutorial. You're using video so that you can talk about their own work in a very personal way to them and just talk to them through the video as if they were in front of you. Okay, so that's the first thing you can do. Apart from that, obviously, once the document comes up, Google Docs tries to correct it, or at least indicates where the areas where it's wrong can be. I'm just going to give you, just a few examples. So, for example, here we have this particular student has written, it's a town near of the centre of Seville. Well, in this case, obviously, Google Docs gives us an opportunity to say near the center, or you could say close to the center. So there's a correction possible there. If I wanted to give it some other, now I'm not going to correct this because what I want is for the student to go back and correct it. His need to correct his own work is far more important than my need to correct his work, because basically it is the process of correction that will help them to learn where the errors are. So what I would tend to do is maybe make a little note. There is a correction option there, which is it could be near the, or it could be near to the, and with that as a little comment on the side, they can go back and actually try to connect it. Now, some teachers will use codes in order to get the message across without actually giving them the answer. Depending on the type of mistake, I decide personally whether I want to use a code or whether I want to, because codes make people think more, or whether I want to just give them a correction and they choose from the possibilities, vocabulary, things like that. Many times, just giving them 3 or 4 opportunities of using other pieces of vocabulary can, improve their level of writing. So the first thing is, little notes on the side, little comments. That's a great idea to help them along. Okay, now having a look and, let's say, for example, the second mistake we have here is a grammatical one. So it's quite possible that I would want the student to actually understand that this is a grammatical area and they need to look into this to try to get some kind of answer. So I might just put here a note like that. If I wanted to give them a clue about it, I might just move forward and say, for example, you're looking for a plural in there. Okay, and just leave a little note like that so that they can actually reread, figure out what I'm trying to say to them. It's a grammar problem and there's a plural in there somewhere, and then they have to find it themselves. Okay, so, sometimes you can use just pure correction, use a note for that, but I suggest that you always make sure that the student has to do something to their original writing so that they are aware of the changes they have to make. And that brings us to the next thing, which is how many times are you going to actually look at this document? And I would suggest twice. look at it first when they actually send it to you. You make some suggestions for corrections, give them the opportunity, let's say a week, to make their corrections, the necessary corrections to the document, and then give them a final grade on it. And that way you've given them the opportunity to have a first draft, you've corrected it or given the indications of correction, and then second draft and grade. That I think is a perfectly reasonable way of dealing with most of the documentation. Of course, in other methods, using the video, you can actually feedback via video, stick the video onto YouTube, enable the student to go and visit the video so they can see a personal feedback and they can understand that you are actually working on their personal work. Most of the time, I've got a feeling that many students just receive their work back with a grade on it, and they really don't think about the work you've put into improving their English on a very personal level. Making a video, using their name in the video, making sure they understand that you are talking personally to them, which is something that you're really doing every time you correct anyway, I think is a very, very personal and profitable move to make using this kind of technology. Okay, so 6 minutes. Let's stop it there.